Hi, thanks for checking out this channel. I started making a video on this last night and I ran into a hiccup. So I'm back here this morning starting to do it. So I stopped that video. Didn't get very far into it. Uh, but now I've got things figured out and I know what I'm going to do. But anyways, this is going to be kind of a repair upgrade video on an American Farmworks 10-mile solar, or Zareba, Blitzer, 10-mile solar. All these units are the same on the inside. They've made like two variations of these things. Basically maybe three, but for the most part they're all the same. Now this one had a transformer set back here and a circuit board set over here. Circuit board was bad. They don't make the circuit board anymore, so I pulled it out, pulled the transformer out. That's the old stuff, back when they were still pretty good. And later on, about 10 years ago or so, they came out with a version that had just one circuit board in here, and they had a built-on transformer. That's the more common one. That's what they built today. Well, this is a... don't think they build this stuff in-house. If you go to like Alibaba, which is like a manufacturing place that sells everything, a lot of it comes from over in China. If you type in like solar electric fence charger on Alibaba, you'll find these units on there with a different name on it. The black case looks just like it. So these I think are made over in China, which is not a big deal, I guess. But the boards for these things are like $80 for a brand new board. But you get about 3 years, give or take, out of one, and then it craps out. You can't get any parts for the board. You can't get transformers for it, stuff like that. So basically, when that board craps out, you got to take that board out, put another board in, and get another 2, 3, 4 years out of it, and it craps out again. So what we have figured out is a way to. This is a totally different board. This is a Gallagher S17 board. I have upgraded it to an S22 electronically. So this S22 board now. So S22 is not a current model that Gallagher makes, but they do make all the parts for it still. The S20 Gallagher, that's what they have out now. They're about a $250 a unit, give or take. And that's the same comparable power to what this one is. So by taking it, and it's a lot better unit as well. The Gallagher S17, S22 board. Now we can fix these boards. This is a rebuilt board. It's not a brand new board. This is a board that we fixed, and we're going to install it inside this unit. And there's a bit of a rewiring and retrofit that we have to do to make this work. And I did it to another guy's unit here a couple weeks ago, and so far he's been happy with it. Been working good. So we're going to take this rebuilt S17/S22 board, and we're going to retrofit this into it, and we're going to kind of try to hopefully walk you through how we do it. And this isn't for the faint of heart of doing this, so this isn't like everyday Joe could do this. I mean, maybe if you had all the pieces and parts there to do it. Now you can get a brand new S22 board about $135-$140 from Gallagher. If we get you one and you want to try to do this yourself, if we don't have a rebuilt S17, S22 board in stock, one that we've rebuilt, a core that we got back from somebody that we sold them a rebuilt board, we'll fix the board and have it as a spare. We could do like $125 on a brand new board. People are like, well, I can buy a brand new American Farmworks 10-mile or Zareba 10-mile for $185. So why would I put $125 into $185 a unit? Well, you're looking at apples to oranges when it comes to quality and reliability and brands. Zareba American Farmers is not the greatest brand. I mean, they're cheap for a reason, So, by putting this board in here and turning it in basically into a Gallagher internally, a solar panel, they don't go bad very often in these things. Batteries, yeah, you got to replace them every 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. They're pretty reliable, but batteries aren't anything special in these things. So internally, this is a Gallagher unit now. Once we get done with it, so you get to compare this to a Gallagher unit, not a Zareba unit or American Farmworks unit. So if you compare this to a Gallagher S20, which is about $250, $265, give or take, fixing this even with the brand new S22 board in it for $125, you're coming out ahead by $150 roughly. And the good thing about the S22 or the S17 boards, they can be fixed. They're not a throwaway board unless they get completely submerged in water or bugs get in here and chew the board up. These boards can be fixed. Now, Zareba boards, you can't really fix them. They don't make any transformers for them. You can't get, probably get certain little things for them to search for, but transformers and stuff like that, you can't. So now what we've done so far, someone has put in a different switch in here. I guess the switch must have went bad, so they put a different switch in there, which is not a big deal. That happens. We had to get this plug on here. This is what goes to the original Gallagher 6-volt battery that they have. And we've got it wired on there to the battery. This batteries go like 6.4 volts. And if someone had to replace this battery, what they would do is there's a male to female connection I put on here. There's female spades on these wires, and I put male spades on this wire. So that way, if they have to take things apart, change the battery, they can undo this, and then plug it all back together. That way, it doesn't pull on this one. It comes unplugged, and they have to take the case off and plug it back in. So the next step we have to do, we need to, we've got our fence and ground wires. We'll have to attach them to these two tabs here. It says fence and earth. So we'll have to solder those on. We got to attach this switch to this switch because this has a built-on switch on here. So we have to put it in the on position. And this has 3 contacts, but we're only, whoops, this is on, whoops. Right there, this thing works. So let's discharge the capacitor. That way don't bite us by accident. So we'll actually unplug that so we don't turn on that by accident. But we'll have to get this board fastened up probably like this, hopefully. Or like this. We'll figure out where we're going to put it at. We also got to get the solar panel plugged into the little holes here. That's going to be kind of a fun little treat to try to do. I may have to, let me do some looking. I might have to get a solar panel, get the wires. There's a little plug that goes inside here on these little pins. One's positive, one's negative, but it's not really apparent which one's which. Let me plug this. I can probably figure it out. Let's see. We're going to. Okay, thing's turned off. The solar panel does feed over onto this battery wire. So if we, like black's on top for negative, and let's do some continuity tests to figure out where this wire makes contact at. Okay. So the left one, which is closest to the top one there, is electrically tied to that one. Not tied to this one.
Sounds better.
Does it? It's not making that bong noise.
That must have been that.
Transformer, yeah. Well, hopefully it runs for. Has it got that new little red thing in there, or is it got the original one? Is it the new one? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that other red one's been running for a little bit. Okay. Let me go get that. I'm gonna go get some wire. Okay, so we're gonna get. I got some red wire and black wire here. We're gonna use for positive and negatives on here. So we're going to turn the soldering iron on. Okay, we're gonna figure out how we're going to mount, or where we're going to mount it at, so that way we know where we want to get our wires to come out the top side. So let's, while the soldering iron's warming up, let's kind of get this prepped here so we can get this ready to get soldered on. Alright, so we're going to add some solder to the red wire. into this black wire. And we'll add just a little bit more solder to these two little tabs, so there's just a little more surface area to solder at. Alright, so let's solder that there. Solder that there. Oh, yeah. Get the excess off there. Snip off just a little bit of that. All right. Let's just cut it long. So I got plenty of wire here to work with. So let's unplug this. So this is for a solar panel, and the solar panel on this one is fine, and it's got a black and a red wire, so we will just solder that, or solder and heat shrink it up to these wires. So now we've got to get the switch figured out. Now we're going to use two black wires here. We're going to come off. There's three contacts here on the switch, and we're only going to use two of them, because it's just an on-off switch. We don't need that third leg. Let's add a little solder here to this wire, kind of tin it and get it prepped. And then we're going to pick this top one here first. And then we'll cut it long. And then we're going to pick the next tab down below. That third one below is not going to be used. We'll have to disconnect it though out of circuit though, so that way the switch will work. Solder it to this one. And then we'll cut it long. And the last thing we need to do, we need to disconnect this third leg, so we're just going to snip it right there. Bend it back and out of the way. And then we have to get this to be on, that way this switch will work, will activate when it's on. And only thing that's going to shut it off now besides doing this is this switch will now connect to these two wires and actually will turn it off. Alright, let's see how we're going to mount this board. Okay, here's the original screws that were on it. See if we can get some a little bit longer screws. these screws right here. Okay. And we're using spacers to go between the board and the case right here. Alright, now I'm going to there's no screw mounts here. The screw mounts down here, but I'm not going to use those. I'm going to do basically what they did at the factory way back on the new ones. We're going to put it up high. I'm going to prep a little, I should have did this like that. So pull this off, get this off the side. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a small drill bit. We're just going to make a little hole here. Like a pilot hole now. Now we'll take this screw, this spacer, still long enough. Instead of using a screw, we're going to see if we just do it like this with the regular screwdriver. That's going to work there. Alright, let's get the bit back over here. Where did I put the bit at? Set it right here. And we're going to just drill a small hole. Spacer and screw. We're going to take this screw, oops, Alright, so now we're ready to get the switch connected up. So we're going to take these wires. We're going to snip these little spay connectors off. That wire just pulled right off there. So I wouldn't even fasten on it very well. Alright, we're not going to do this. We're going to use a switch. This one won't tighten down enough, so what we'll do is I'm going to cut this off. Strip that back. We're going to tin this wire, and we're going to solder this wire right to that terminal there. That way it doesn't slip off by accident. So let's get a little third hand helper here. Go down here and we'll solder here. Take this, heat them up both together, fuse it. Come on. There. Alright, here's our two wires that are from our switch. We can cut these a little short now. We don't need all this wire. So now we'll going to twist these together. Solder them. Get some heat shrink out. Put it over the top of them. Snip off just a little bit of that excess we don't need. Switch is done. Now let's go get a solar panel. Here's a positive and negative for the solar panel, so we're going to snip off this. Basically do the same thing. We're going to, how my wire strippers go. Actually, we don't need that much on there either, so let's cut this back like here. Alright, let's see. Now we'll, I think this is big enough. Alright. Solar panels wired up. Now what we need to do is we got fence and earth down, fence and ground over here, but now I got to figure out which is fence and ground on this one. All right, this is fence, this is earth. So we'll strip this back, and we're going to solder it right to these two little sleeves that are over here on the board. These are the original wires that were on there. So we're going to tin the wires on here. There's that one. Alright, so let's calling me when I'm trying to work. Alright, this was fence is a short one, so fence is the bottom tab down here. So basically what we're going to do is heat them both up together. Oh. So they cool off and harden up. There's that one. The same. Come on, get over here. Heat these two up together. Alright, let's switch on the board's turned on, but this is turned off. Let's flip this switch on. Gotta plug this wire on. I don't know if the switch down below is on or off, so let's plug this switch on here. So it's not turned on yet, so let's flip this switch. Hopefully it turns on, starts humming and beeping. What do we got going on here? So I know the board's good. Let's unplug one of these wires here. Let's check this switch, make sure this switch is good. So this goes on, let's flip it. Make sure it turns off. Okay, switch is fine. Plug this back on. check the voltage here. .44 volts. Why isn't it clicking? Something not quite right somewhere. Maybe we weren't supposed to disconnect that top one. That's, I know I did it on another board. I had to disconnect it. Let's solve them back together. Let's see what we got to do here. Got power disconnected. Let's pull this board off. Something to do with the switch is not liking it. Okay, so it's always on. So I separated that top one. I'm pretty sure that's what we had to do. Solar panel's good there, switch good there. Let's try this again. So we have the switch is on here. Let's off. On. Okay, so we got something with this switch. We gotta figure out. I've got another spare board here. Let me see if we have anything different between the two. Let's see. Well, What's that noise? Sounds like a Finch charger.
Yours. What I just found.
Okay, I kind of figured a little bit of it out.
You did.
Okay, these two
What happened?
top tabs here, there's 3 tabs for the switch. 2 of them are for your on-off. This bottom one like energizes the switch because there's the power. Your 6-volt comes in here. It weasels around on one side of it, and these 2 tabs right here and here are part of your fuse. So then that side of the fuse goes through this little piece here to go to that bottom tab there, which I guess energizes the switch to allow it to turn on and off. So if this bottom one's not in there, that can't go through the fuse to the switch to turn itself on. But I've got another unit here I did this to, and disconnected this top one there, and it worked fine. So I don't know what the big difference is there. Only thing I think to do is to pull that one apart real quick and set them side by side here and see what maybe there's a difference between the 2 boards. We've got some variation here. So let me push that to the side. No.
Click and I just can't hear it. It's putting out maybe 800.
Okay. Now it may need a new capacitor on the board. What? You gotta take the board off. What size freaking screw is that? You may have to cut. There's you look at. Well, just follow the 2 red wires that go through the board. It's like the solder to the back side somewhere. You might have to. There's a little. You might have to cut that zip tie off that capacitor to get out of the way. There's this style. Okay, I have figured it out. We soldered on the other board that's in this other unit that we're working on. We soldered them to the wrong, two of the wrong tabs. So we've got to put it to the bottom one and the top one. The middle one, the top one, but the bottom one is not being used. So let's put this switch off. I'll take care of putting this board, this unit back together here in a minute. So that was our problem. Alright. So we do need to snip that top, but this wire right here needs to go to this one. Yep, I heard it turn on. So let me disconnect power. Discharge the capacitor real quick. Alright. Let's power. Is it clicking along, and you can't really see it flashing, but now let's go down here to this switch and see this switch actually turns it off. See, there we go. Okay, now one thing I want to maybe try to do is this has got a bulb on it here. Maybe we can wire it up to this bulb here. It's got a different kind of bulb. Doesn't have an LED. Technically, this is not being used. Let's see if we can rig up something on there. Okay, I've got a bunch of these red LEDs that we got for something here way back whenever. Maybe we can wire it up, add some wires to it, maybe tape it, glue it, whatever in place right here, and solder some wires from here to that bulb. But these do have a polarity to them, so you gotta solder them on correctly. So we're gonna put our meter on the diode setting. This is a LED light emitting diode, so we're going to put power to it the right way so it lights up. So that's why we know what's positive and what's negative, basically. So it looks like the short wires are negative. I'm going to slip a little bit off so it makes it easier for me to remember. So short wires negative, long wires positive. So let's see if we can do the same thing down here to figure out which wire is which. Right there, where it lights up. Okay, so I'm going to get a marker here, or a pen. So this side is black. I'm just going to make a little mark here so I know that this side is negative. It's negative. And what we'll do, all these wires here. So we're going to solder a wire. to get this LED. I'm going to solder, put some solder right there. And that's this one right there. Cut it long. Before we get all this back together, let's try it. We'll try to solder these wires onto this, and we'll power the unit back up. Make sure that red LEDs flashes on nice and bright. So short one was our negative. This one was our positive. Let's turn power back on. It flashes, but it's not real bright because I think it's, you know, trying to power up two bulbs. So maybe we can disconnect that bulb. Let's discharge the capacitor. Let's pull that wire off. Either cable tie again.
Now, you
I
can't.
thought it was on the, you put it on the bottom side.
Oh, it goes over here?
Yeah, like the other one did.
Is that where it was back here?
Yeah, it's on the bottom back side.
No.
We'll probably put the cable tie, zip tie back. See the little holes in the board there? All right, let's take this other one loose. Let's. See if we can pull this bulb out. Alright, add some solder. This is taking me a little longer than I thought it would have taken, but I had to kind of remember how I was doing this. That's positive, that's negative. So we're going to solder that wire right there. This wire right here. Now we'll power it back on. See if this light's any brighter. Oh yeah. Nice and bright. Get out of there, fly. Alright, so now we're ready. So now let's put things back together. Alright, we don't need this any longer. Disconnect power just in case. Let's get our screws that we were using earlier. Take some epoxy.